Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another LCS Report. I'm Rob, he's Nick, and we always start with our important question of the day. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm a little sad we won't have LCS for a couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
there's a lot to talk about and a lot to digest before we go into those last 2 weeks, especially because, to say the least, things have not gone how I think we expected through 4 weeks of play in a lot of areas, right?
No, it
So, how are you though?
is. I'm great. Thank you for asking me. I get to record with you, dude. So, always a good day. And I'll tell you what, guys, things have not gone according to plan whatsoever. You will see when we go through our picks here shortly. But I did want to let you guys know a programming, report here for you guys is this is going to be our normal Tuesday show. Thursday, we'll do something different. Tuesday, next week, we will do something different as well. And then Thursday, we will be back to our normal Thursday show. Or no, yes, it will be that Thursday, right? Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. When is the next LCS game? Do you
That's a good
remember?
question.
Let me look this
I
up.
don't. I can look it up though.
I got it. It's
Okay.
March 2nd. So just kidding. We will have all of next week as well as completely different. Just fun stuff for Nick and I to talk about. Then the week after that, we'll have a something fun Tuesday show as well, and then a Thursday show. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Confusing for us as well if you haven't been able to tell because this weird 2 week break is confusing, I think, but that's okay. What we're going to do today is, like I said, we'll just do our normal Tuesday show. We'll do a quick rundown of the standings now. FlyQuest at 7-2, standing at the top by themselves. Also by themselves in second place, 100 Thieves at 6-3. Team Liquid 5-4 by themselves in third. Then we have a 3-team tie for fourth at 4-5, with NRG, Cloud9, and Dignitas, and then seventh, or at least tied for seventh, are Shopify Rebellion and Immortals Progressive. Let's hop into our picks really quickly here, Nick, and then we'll kind of dive into everything that we've been thinking about from this past week. You're going to see a lot of red here, fam, and that's because Nick struggled not as much this week as I did. I got one pick right this week. I went
Whew.
1-7. My 2% or whatever dropped to a 50. I am now 18-18. This is the worst week I've ever had in picking for the last 3 years, I believe. So, not good. But Nick, you went 3-5. So I think better,
Not
much
not
better.
great, but
Uh,
we take those. Yeah.
but we are now both tied at 18-18. That is what is, I think, the most interesting part about this is we have found different ways to get to 18-18, with some really good weeks, some pretty bad weeks. And this last week, I think nothing went basically as expected. Obviously for me, for sure. And then I think for you as well. Dude, this week was weird. I just don't know how to describe it. Like, I remember thinking I was watching all the games on Saturday, and I had a friend's like house party or whatever. Like, we just had a bunch of people over and we were hanging out, and I'm watching the games on my phone and trying to keep up while I'm talking with people, and I'm like, oh man, like, wow, I expected them to win. Oh, they didn't win either. Oh, I'm 0-4 right now. This is great. So, I don't know. I guess what stood out to you most? What was the game I guess that stood out to you most? We'll hop into that as we talk about our picks.
Yeah, I think that I kind of expected this week to be sort of a week of regression to the norm, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
we were going to see some things a bit more expected, and it was going to give us a bit more of a clearer picture as to what we can expect for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't think we got that, if I'm being honest with you. And I think the game that really stands out to me the most, just off the top of my head, would be the Cloud9 100 Thieves game because we saw Cloud9 do. I mean, not that NRG played poorly, but that's kind of it, right? I mean, C9 beat NRG. They were the better
Yep.
team on the Rift.
Yep.
They
That was a
looked
good game.
good. They looked good. Yeah. And then the 100 Thieves game happened, right? And it wasn't like C9 got slaughtered, and it wasn't like they went 0-2. But it was concerning. I mean, even if they won that game, I think it would have been concerning,
Yeah,
just
they
in
did
the
not play it
nature that
well.
it played out. And yeah, and there was a clip, a colleague of, I mean, we don't work together, but another one of us, let's call it Jordan Marn,
Yep.
if you're watching, he pointed out to me, he's like, go back to the break or right after the 100 Thieves post game interview and check the C9 comms out, and I did, and there. I'm more concerned about that than about the even like the way it played out, because after Berserker got that Zeri pentakill, Blabber was basically saying, Jojo, what the fuck are you doing? That's a quote. Because I think that he didn't understand where he was, or Blabber didn't understand where he was. I don't remember the exact details, but and Vulcan was also like, we can't really get anything done when Zeri's acting like this, which I think was referencing Berserker chasing the 5th kill of his pentakill, which took quite some time.
It did.
And it just feels like that's concerning to me, because that's a team that is just playing like not on the same page, like actively. Like that's not, in the tough call we and that's the thing, right? Like the end of the game is gonna be frustrating with like the base race and 100 Thieves won it and whatever,
Yeah.
right? But like the game should have been over at least 10 minutes before them. Cloud had like a 9K gold lead or something, and a Zeri with a pentakill. Like I don't know, like it just it was really that's really concerning to me, because if this is supposed to be the week that we sort of understand where teams are, I thought that we were getting that with C9 against NRG. I'm like, okay, cool. And then for them to have that game the next day just shows that like someone needs to unify this team and get them on the same page. And I hope that Mythic can do that. C9 doesn't have a ton of coaches compared to like other orgs have maybe a bit more robust coaching staff in certain areas. But I hope that he's the guy who can unify this team, because right now none of them are on the same page, and that was clear in the game against 100 Thieves, regardless of the result.
Yeah, and I mean that was going to be the game that stood out to me most as well, for two reasons. One, I think it's really cool to see 100 Thieves playing well.
Yeah.
I think
Not
that
trying to take
they're
away anything from them. They played
yeah,
well. They played well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think I did not hear the comms again. Sunday I was with family for the Super Bowl, so I was watching again on my phone, not able to really lock in. And I will tell you that hearing that is extremely concerning for me, because um, it almost sounds as if their frustrations are leading to them not even maybe liking each other, which would be concerning. Um, at this point,
Yeah.
I think
If
that
you listen to it, it was very heat of the moment. Just to clarify, not to cut you off, it was
okay,
very heat of the moment.
okay,
I don't think any of these guys are angry at each other. It was just like we're in a tense situation. It didn't sound like no one was like. It wasn't like Jojo, what the fuck are you doing? It was wait, Jojo, what? Like Blabber was
where are you?
confused
Yeah,
and like what is happening right now.
okay,
So yeah, but
because
I agree with you in the sense. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, it's
I
okay.
agree with you in the sense that it's very much like I don't think they dislike each other, but they clearly aren't on the same pages at all, and that's clearly coming from a place of there is frustration there for sure.
Well, and I think
You
that
know,
that's what's important is that they're not on the same page, and I guess that like that can lead to frustration where you don't enjoy playing with each other, or things are not going well. I wonder. It's weird because like all five of them have been in very stressful situations. Like I'm starting to wonder like if Vulcan is just cursed with these super teams that he goes on. Like we all know that they are talented, and what I don't understand is like how can there be just that much difference in terms of mindset, right? Like the ultimate goal is to win. It's just to win and find a way to do that, right? And when you're throwing a lead that big, when you're not playing the up to expectations, like I will say, like now hearing about this, I did kind of wonder. I was like, all right, Berserker is on a journey to get that pentakill, and I understood that they were up, all that jazz, but like dude, you got to remember, right? That's kind of like an immature thing to do. You got to remember you are 4-4 at that point. You have to
yep,
make playoffs. You have to make MSI for everybody to stay together on this team, right? Because otherwise, if they
yeah.
miss MSI, there will be a change that is made. At least one,
Oh,
maybe two.
100%. Anything. Yeah, I mean, I think even second seed MSI is a disappointment, but anything below that is an atrocity on the
Exactly.
failure scale, right?
And it's not that,
Um,
like, to be
yeah.
clear, it's not that it's only on Berserker in that moment, right? Like, there are other things that are not being done by this team, but like, Mithy has to step up. Like, it doesn't, like, sure, it would be great if a player did, right, and figured it out. But like hell, dude, I'd almost consider calling Bjergsen. And he used to be the great unifier, it felt like, for all teams. Like, have him come in because you have this 2 week break and you know the talent is there. How do you figure out your communication skills? How do you guys get on the same page, right? And I only bring him up because I do think truly he's one of the best communicators that I can remember listening to back in the day, and somebody who is clearly still around. And I'm not saying bring him in as like a head coach or a coach of any type. I'm saying bring him in to help maybe talk with them and figure out what's going on, or find somebody who can. Maybe Jack needs to step in and kind of put his foot down, but like, that's not a good look for Mithy either. And I think I've
Well,
talked
yeah.
about it on this podcast before, but like, I have an unreleased interview with Mithy after their loss to NRG, for various reasons that it was unreleased. But there was a lot of a significant amount of frustration, to say the least. And a lot of it came down to the mental immaturity of some players, who, again, it's unreleased because I'm trying. I it just didn't feel like a good interview for me, in my opinion. But once he stopped giving short answers and started diving into the long ones, like, there were some very clear tensions. I don't think between him and the players necessarily, but things that he was seeing, and I wonder if some of that's been ironed out. Right? I wonder if and some of it was with players who are there now, some of it with players who are gone. So, that's not to say that it's anybody who's there right now, but I know I'm being super vague. I apologize to everybody for that. But it just is concerning to me that this team is clearly just not on the same page. Their NRG game, honestly, like, it felt like they were finally roaming as a team. They were making good decisions as a team. Like, sure, NRG, I think, made some really poor plays, but I do think that C9 did a good job at responding to them and taking advantage of them, and then being proactive throughout the rest of the map as a unit. And this game felt like it was heading kind of in a similar direction until the wheels fell off. And like, you have to have somebody who can refocus everybody and bring them back. Like, that's where a Huhi comes in. That's where a River type player comes in, and they have players with so many games of experience. To me, it is almost unacceptable that this is happening, and I really am interested to see what they do, because I think that there may not be a team that needed this break more than Cloud9 to figure out what is going on and how they are going to fix it. And they have 5 games left, and I'm going to be interested to see if they, like, to me, 4-1 is the minimum of what they should expect at this point. And I know they still have games against, I think, like, both FlyQuest, or all 3 FlyQuest TL and 100 Thieves at this point. But I don't know that anybody's like a guaranteed win in the LCS right now. So I don't know, Nick. What do you have to add to that?
First of all, you're completely right. I do think that there was progress from C9, and not just because of the record from C9 last week compared to or this past week compared to the week before, but the progress isn't indicative of things working with this team. And what I mean by that is that Mithy took full responsibility for the O3 weeks, Super Week, with the drafts, and I agree the drafts were an issue. The drafts were not an issue this week at all. I thought the drafts were fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And what I saw was champions that are good, played in team compositions that make a good team composition. But that doesn't mean that your team's playing together just because you're drafting well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of the same plays were made on the NRG game, and that's because I think that all those players had the same instinct and they knew how to play the game. It's kind of, I don't know, when like NRG flubs a first blood, like that, like they get the first blood and then give a bunch of kills. That was a C9 game, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that happened.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um it's easier. It looks like they're on the same page, or do they all 5 players had the same idea because they know how to win a simple game? Whereas the 100 Thieves game, which was a bit more nebulous, right? Coming back, closing the game out, we're seeing there are more paths, there's more choices to make. So regardless of the champions and stuff like that, we're still not seeing the team communicate on the same page, like you said. And Blabber said pretty openly in the first few weeks that this is a team with a lot of ego, and if it can be harnessed properly, it's an incredibly strong team. But this is why it's stuff like this why I didn't really. I mean, I didn't expect them to be 4-5. Don't get me
No,
wrong, but
no.
I didn't expect them to be 9-0 either. Um, and I think that not that it's a good thing, but these are clearly problems that are like this is not like we have to just like, we're doing something wrong in the game, let's fix it. Like this is something that they have to like get on the same page about, like you said, and I'm glad it's happening now because if this team's ever going to be the super team they live up to be, they need to get through this now, before
Yeah.
playoffs, and it's entirely possible. We've seen it before. People forget, a lot of the first like a lot of the first team Liquid double if team that won like 4 championships, they were like 9-9 in the spring split the first time they got together. Like this is it can be fine.
Yeah.
But I know Mithy can take responsibility for drafts, and I know that he can draft better, and he has been. But yeah, like you said, I don't know if he's the guy to unify this team on an off the rift level, which is what they need. I think if nothing else, you bring back Sven as a positional coach for the bot lane because he isn't as good of a support player as Vulcan, but he basically modeled. He said he's only ever played support with Berserker, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't think this is Vulcan like is incapable of playing with Berserker or incapable of playing with Korean 80 carries. I don't think Vulcan's cursed. I think that these are clear issues that haven't been issues before. And if I recall correctly, like outside of maybe a few games with like Piglet, like in practice, like 7 years ago, Vulcan's always played with English first 80 carries. And not that Berserker's English is bad, but I also know that Berserker has a very different way of seeing the game. He's very much goes off of what like Korea is doing. He's very, he's very watchful on that, and a lot of these guys in Cloud9 have a very different, like Blabber style is as far from Korean jungling as possible, I feel like, right? So
Sure.
clearly there's a mishmash here, and they need to figure out some kind of direction to get on the same page. And then because what's really cool is this team could play to every idea that these players have, but they need not have them all at the same time. So
Yeah.
hopefully they figure that out. But the 100 Thieves game was concerning, not because it was a loss, but the nature of how it was a loss. And
Hmm.
it's indicative of a potential. It's the first step on a potential worst case scenario for this team that I hope we don't see.
Yeah, and I think the last point that I'll make is what they need to have in teams like this that I've seen in the past, and whether you're a football team, baseball team, basketball team, hockey, whatever sport, right? It doesn't matter. There has to be one clear voice making the decisions, right? And there's this whole phrase of too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Where
Yep.
there's just too many people giving too many opinions, giving some good advice, some bad advice. But this team has to make a decision as to how they're going to move forward and who is going to listen. And then the other 4 players, depending on the situation, need to just shut the hell up and just go with the call. And that's the thing that I felt like they did well in the NRG game that they didn't do well in the 100 Thieves game. It was like once the chaos ensued, the team started to just make really stupid individual decisions, and it should have been somebody just being like, and maybe it was, but clearly people weren't listening, right? Like if the call is to be in this place at this time and you're out there, clearing a camp or chasing down kills, like there has to be one unified just, hey, this is how we are going to go. I'm telling you, I think that the best teams in the LCS have had, maybe 2 shot callers. That's fine for different points in the game. But once a decision is made, you do it as a team. Whether it's good or bad, doesn't really matter, right? You just got to trust that
Yeah.
that person sees something that the whole team can do and make that decision. So, I think that C9 clearly did not have a great weekend. I mean, it wasn't a bad weekend too. I mean, they still got a win. I think O2 would have been absolutely disastrous. Wow, words. But the NRG game was good, and I know that NRG aren't the team that everybody thought they would be, but at the same time, they still are a top team. yeah, they had a pretty bad week, and I think that's the next team we'll need to talk about here in just a second. But, well, you know what? No, screw it. You know, we'll head into it now. We've talked enough about C9. You're gonna have to tell me what's going on with these NRG games. I only got to passively watch, especially the second game. The first game, it just felt like they were making really weird decisions, like consistently bad ones. And then they just never found a way to really shut down C9. I thought, if I remember correctly, let me pull this up. Wasn't this the game that they had Senna? I want to say. Let me see.
Mm, I don't
Um,
remember off the top of my head.
okay, I'm bringing this up. 1 second, guys. NRG Cloud9. Yeah, this was the game they had Senna, and what the reason why I bring that up is we all know what Senna is, right? It's just get in there and play the game out, continue to stack, all that jazz. It just never felt like they gave her not only a chance to stack, but to get to a point to where she was just so strong it didn't matter. And I am just genuinely confused as to why I felt like they were just like speed running this game when the entire composition essentially is based around pick potential with Palafox and the Talia, and then scaling with the Senna. And like, sure, they had a couple decent picks, I think, with the Talia, but they didn't let FBI, I feel like, play the game correctly. Um,
Yeah,
so I don't know. It was a very confusing game for me to watch, especially that bot dive, man. That just made no sense to me. Like once you flub it, just get out and let it go, you know? And
yeah.
they just seemed hell bent on making bad decisions.
Yeah, I think that's the crux of the issue there, and we saw this with NRG last year too. Where I mean, and this is kind of exemplary of like contracts as a player in general. Not that contracts is part of that dive entirely, but we saw it even ever since CLG had the contracts roster. I guess so, 2022, right? It
Sure.
was when they were when they were doing well. It was always early game productivity was their the feather in their cap, but
Mm-hmm.
there'd be these moments where they take a step too far. And I think that's what we saw because we saw, despite Sen and Tom Kench can just scale, but they scale. Excuse me, not stale. Sen and Tom Kench can just scale, but they had a great opportunity to get that first blood. They
Yeah.
capitalized on it. FBI and Hui also, I think, know that they're the best Sen and Tom Kench pairing in the league by like a
Yep.
pretty wide margin, I would say. And so they saw an opportunity with the bot lane Berserker Vulcan, who's been disjointed this year, and they took that and they did it, and they took it a step too far because they could have just gone out with the first blood after they missed the second attempt.
Yep.
But I think they saw because you're right. Then we're ahead. We have Senna. We're fine. I think they saw if we get another kill here, this lane is straight up over. And the way this
Sure.
team's
Sure.
playing, we just win. And that's kind of a thing that they always. That's kind of a live and die by the NRG sword, kind of. So like, I don't want to say like I don't want them to like go against the impulse to do that in the way of like I think like playing scared is bad, but like the fact that you got one kill that early with Senaton Kench is already a freebie, right? Like I think like you great job. Let's move back. If they were playing like Lucian Nami and they wanted to go for more, I'd get it. Like because you
Yeah.
need to go for more with Lucian Nami. But yeah, I mean this is but we've seen NRG lose multiple games like this in the regular season, even to some of these lower teams by over just overextending on a play that already worked. At the same time, this is also what makes them a tough team to beat because they thrive in this chaos. And we usually see when teams scrap with them, they go down to that level and they you don't want to have like a mud fight with NRG. You
No.
lose.
No.
But I think they did force it a little too much. And you said that C9 seemed more on the same page and listening to one call. I don't think it was that. I think NRG made it so that it was very clear, like, okay, well, we just got something back. And now the game, from all five individuals' perspective, it's very clear how it needs to be played out. That's why we're seeing them on the same page sometimes and not on the same page. Is that these players all know how to win a game when the playbook's very clear,
Well, I
and that's what it was in the NRG game.
I
And
don't
then
know that
100
I
Thieves was a little bit more nebulous.
I don't know that I completely agree with that because what it felt like to me is once C9 got ahead, they just kept targeting Hui. They just were like every single time that he is available to kill, they just went after him and
Yeah,
made it so that Senna couldn't play the game. So that's what I mean. Like I know
yeah,
what you're saying. Like yeah, it's a clear playbook, but like the calls were still, hey, Tom Kench, right? Like kill him,
right.
win the game was basically how it felt throughout
Right.
basically the latter half of the game. And so I get what you're saying. I just think that NRG, yeah, they do play with controlled chaos. And I know that this is definitely your team of expertise. I'm only going to push back a little bit on the fact that it's felt like this style, or at least this split, they have pushed way too far. Like, there's a difference, I feel like, between the way that they played on their playoff run and at, at Worlds and everything. It was calculated, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like contracts dying under that tower when there was just no reason for him to stay,
Yeah.
especially on that first dive. Like, it was a pretty clear thing. And it's like, I think, excuse me, the difference has been just the levels of over aggression. Like, it almost feels like there's too much pressure on them right now to make a play, to do what they need to do. I feel like they need to actually almost bring it back and remember that, like, yes, it's good that they're, pushing hard, right? And that they're pushing to make plays. And I'm not telling you that they need to play passively. What I'm saying is that they need to understand. I think something that I want to see NRG learn is that their talent is now at a high enough level to where sometimes, especially early on, it's okay to maybe play a little less aggro, right? To make that one play and just be done with it, right? And remember that their talent and their ability to play as a team, they are the ultimate better than the sum of their parts team, I think, that I've seen in many, many years. And I want to
Yeah.
see them just bring it back a little bit. Not a lot, right? I still want contracts to, dive under towers and make crazy plays, but it just feels like, especially, there's like these defining moments in each one of their games that they've lost where they're taking it too far. And then instead of just like, hey, we're going to play out the rest of this game, we're going to play out our comp the rest of this game, right? Like, they could have done that in this game. Like, that Senna could have ended up just scaling massively and been a huge problem for C9, in my opinion, right? But I just think that they continued to compound their mistakes by continuing to play too aggro and continuing, because, like, I'm starting to recall the game. I remember there's another play, like they end up killing JoJo, and then, like, they still see Vulcan at some point, and they just continue to try to make a play, and they end up losing 2 off of it, right? And it's like, just take the JoJo kill and be done, right? And know
Yeah.
that you got an advantage over them. And
Yeah.
I know that that's not, like, maybe the most attractive way to win a game, or people don't want them to lose that that aggression. But I'm just going to ask for a little bit more controlled aggression, and a reminder that they are a very talented team, and they don't need to constantly make crazy, insane plays to try to bring things back or to try to get too far ahead. Like, they can make a really good play and then, maybe make a crazy play once things are a little, like, still a little bit more even, right? Or just don't allow yourself to snowball the game in the opposite direction, where it just feels like it can't be stopped. Because that's what that C9 NRG game felt like to me. Is I saw that first play, and then every single time it felt like, okay, NRG are taking a step forward, 2 steps back, step forward, 2 steps back, and then it was just too late, and C9 could literally just target Huhi, and the game was over. It literally just didn't even matter because FBI couldn't play the game. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
I
I
was just
mean,
very
no, I
frustrated watching
completely.
that.
No, sure. I think that it's like this could be. I think that I haven't talked to any players of NRG after that game, but I think they'd probably agree with you. And I think, but I also think that the strength of this team is finding that perfect balance. It's not just being too passive. And I think that one of
Yeah.
the only ways to find that is to go for it, especially when you have someone like Huhi, who's a new player, who's familiar. Like, they're trying to reconfigure their limits as a bot lane while also developing synergy with the jungler that he hasn't played with before.
It's true.
Um,
That's true.
and and like you said, it's like, oh yeah, it's not as refined as playoffs and worlds. It's like, good, make those mistakes in the early game, figure that out, and yeah, I hope that we see them come with a more refined version of the NRG playbook going forward. But I also think, like, this was true of the NRG team that won last year. Like, they had these games where, like, they'd mess it up like this, and I think, like, they're kind of a free swinging team, and that's what makes them good. But then you're going to have some regular season best of ones like this, where it's like, oh damn, what the hell is that? So I
I
think it's
guess
kind
that's
of
fair.
par,
That is
par
fair.
I think it's par for the course as long as they're that's like a as long as they came back to the drawing board like, oh man, we pushed too far, let's learn, because like you have to, if you're going to be a team that kind of lives on that knife's edge, you have to kind of cut yourself a few times first to figure out what's too far also. So I'm glad they're not afraid to do that. It didn't turn out well. It looked really stupid in a vacuum. um but I think this is I liked it because it felt like NRG was trying to figure themselves out more, and that's what regular season's really about. Like, I don't think there's a world where NRG misses playoffs. I think that I just think that, like, yeah, we probably won't see that kind of play again from them for a while, because that was obviously too far, especially when they got the first kill.
I wish I could say I was so confident that NRG and C9 were like guaranteed playoffs, but the fact that they're only one game up on Shopify and Immortals, especially with I think both of them now either. Let me check. Let me confirm this before I say it out loud. Shopify are 1-0 over Cloud9 and NRG right now, so it's like um, it's not great. It's not
They're the
great for them.
yeah.
And I think Immortals also have a win over one of them, right? Yeah, they are 1-0 over Cloud9, but they're actually they're 1-0 against C9 and NRG as well. So, just it's worrisome to me, especially cuz I thought they were going to be our two best teams. But
That's funny.
that's okay. That's okay. We are going to move on because I think we've talked enough about our perceived top two teams.
Sure.
And
I mean, it's not good.
listen, like we do, and we promise we will get to teams like Team Liquid, FlyQuest, and 100 Thieves. I do think we owe FlyQuest over these, not this episode, but sometime in the next 4 episodes, because we're going to have a lot of extra time. I do want to dedicate an episode to just breaking down why FlyQuest are playing as well as they are and what I think has been working really well for them. I don't know which episode that'll be. It'll likely be next week at some point because we do have something planned out for Thursday, but we're running a little low on this episode's time. So I wanted to get to our trivia questions of the day. Okay. And I really like these. I feel like these are a good idea. And so I wanted to start with, we're going into champions direction, okay? Not the players, not the teams, champions. We're starting with this. There are 2 champions with the most games played so far this split. They have 18 games, I believe. Or no, not 18. How many was it? Yeah, it's 18 games played so far this split. Who are the 2 champions? If you get one, I will give you full credit.
Corky is here.
Neither of those champions. I'll give you another chance. I will give you their lanes. One is an AD carry,
okay,
and one is a top laner.
Okay. Top laner is Cassante.
Correct. What about AD carry?
Nice.
This is the harder one, I think.
Harris?
Yeah, you got him. That's awesome.
Nice.
All right, good job, man. No, that's great. Yeah, they both are have been played 18 times. They've been pretty good, obviously, as champions. Now that we're not on the Azir pick or on the Lucian pick, I think AD carry's been looking a lot better. Oh, sorry about that. Got something in my throat. Okay. Next one is, which champion has the highest pick and ban percentage? So combined, either picked or banned. Excuse me.
Goodyear.
No. Surprisingly, that is incorrect. I'll give you another guess before we go to what lane.
Okay.
I will say Udyr is third. 83.3, and it's neither Varus nor Cassante.
Yeah. So pick and ban, right? So Ash? Probably not.
No, also I believe in the top 5 at 80.6%.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure then, I guess.
At 94.4%. She has been banned 69 nice 0.4% of the time. It is Callista. Callista.
Huh.
I was
Okay. Okay.
surprised by
Okay.
that myself, to
That's
be completely honest with you.
okay. That makes sense actually in hindsight. That one didn't come to mind for me, but yeah.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I was the same way. I really didn't think about it. Okay. Our last two questions here. Now, this one's a two-parter as well. Which team has the fastest games so far this split, and which team has the slowest?
Ooh.
They are a 5 minute
Slowest has got
difference,
to
by the
be.
way, which is quite a bit.
Oh, wait, from fastest to slowest?
Yeah.
Slowest has to be Immortals?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Nice.
34.4 minutes per game. Slow or fastest team is at 29.7 minutes. Who is the fastest team?
FlyQuest.
No. Unfortunately, that is incorrect.
Dang
I'll
it.
give you another choice here.
Okay.
Let me see what theirs is. I'm actually curious now. I didn't know. Let me find it. FlyQuest are second slowest by only zero point 0.5 minutes, so half a minute
Interesting.
essentially.
Is it just C9? Is it just C9? Because their wins have been
No,
pretty convincing.
it's not. It is Shopify Rebellion at 29.7
What?
minutes. It's crazy.
Wild. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. All right, last one here. There are two
Okay.
teammates who are not tied, but they are 1 and 2 in kills after week 4. We're at the technical midpoint. Who has? I'll either let you guess which team they both play for, or which player it is that has the most kills in the LCS. This is our last question.
Which player has the most kills in the LCS?
Yep.
Um. Okay.
Now we did this
I think it has to
last
be
week.
it has to be a FlyQuest player, right? Like
No.
it's not. Oh, okay. Wow. Damn. Um. No, wait. No, no, no. We did this. We did this already. Is it the same player as last week? 'Cause I think I remember who it is.
No. That player fell
Ah,
off
dang it.
significantly.
Dang
Tactical
it. Okay.
did not have a good week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay.
You're in the same ballpark, though. I'll give you that.
An FBI?
It is not. It is Meech.
All right.
Meech has
Oh
42
shit.
kills.
Okay.
Quid has
Let's go.
41.
Let's go.
Yeah, 100 Thieves
I feel
representing.
like we gotta yeah. If we're gonna talk about FlyQuest, we need to talk about 100 Thieves. 'Cause I think while FlyQuest has been the best team, we need to also spend some time in the next couple of weeks talking about 100 Thieves has been the clear, I think, biggest surprise in terms of like expectation to reality.
Oh, without a
So
doubt. Without a doubt.
I'm sure we'll get into that in other episodes. But quick shout out to 100 Thieves. It's been awesome to watch so far.
Oh, they've been amazing. But yeah, I mean, I guess that really kind of wraps it up in terms of the things I planned. Give your general thoughts real quick, and then we'll call it an episode.
General thoughts on week 4 or
Yeah,
anything
just
specific,
just
or
where we're at
like
right now. Any last thoughts for the fans, for the peeps?
um, I said last episode that Cloud9 will be fine, and I am 15% less confident in that now.
So you're at what, 60%, maybe 70?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm because I was like, okay, clearly there just needs to be like a better draft or direction, and now it's very clear that it's like these guys are on different pages, and it doesn't seem to be like a I don't know how to play a game issue. It seems to, I mean, even when the good parts of the comms were happening, it's like you said, it's a bunch of different voices talking over each other. This team, and that's the problem. It's one thing when a team needs to find new heights, and that can be hard because you don't know how to do that. It's another thing when a team knows exactly what they need to be a better team, and it's not happening, and that's also concerning. So. I think it can still happen. We've seen this type of arc with super teams before, or even just elite teams. We've had so many years, I think, with our most elite G2 esports teams over in Europe, where
Yep.
they kind of screwed around in the regular season, or just didn't get on the same page, or
And
like,
they put it
why are
together.
they 4-7, and then all of a sudden they win like the next 50 games for the next 3 months, right? So it's that being said, It's not time to panic yet for C9 fans, as much as it's as the temptation might be there. But it's we're closer. We're closer. I think that yeah, I'm hoping that it's just them needing to take some things more seriously. So that's my main thing right now.
That's the goal. My thought is I'm gonna give love to FlyQuest. This team has been what I thought C9 would be, and I think that that is the highest compliment I can possibly give you right now. So with that, yes, FlyQuest fans and 100 Thieves fans and TL fans, we will give you guys so much more love. It's just, again, our top two teams, initially at least, have been a major disappointment and warrant big discussions. But yeah, we appreciate everybody who's been watching. Again, make sure to like, subscribe. Let us know in the comment section below if there are things that you guys want us to talk about, especially over these next 4 episodes, and then even excuse me, when we're leading up to MSI as well. But yeah, with that, we'll catch you guys on the next one.